Welcome, everyone. Good morning to you all. And this is the second edition of Cloud Activate. And this time we are dedicating this topic to Azure Arc enabled data services. So why this topic? This is something that we have been discussing with Microsoft for quite a while, since they launched the Azure Arc. We are following up this topic with a lot of interest. We at Claranet. Because we see this as an opportunity to bring some of the services that are already available in Azure, in public cloud, to some of even on-prem or even to our own data centers, and provide those services as a service, completely as a service, without any overlay of management from the customer on this infrastructure. And so they can consume these services as they would do in Azure, with the benefit that they can do it in their own infrastructure. And there are some use cases that it might make sense to do it. Azure Arc is a topic that expands to several areas. So we have enabled data services, where we are been focusing to today. We also have Kubernetes and management and governance. So Claranet is following up all of these topics, but today we are going to talk specifically about enabled data services. And in a different session, in the next Cloud Activate, maybe we can talk about Kubernetes, or maybe a different topic. It depends on the interest generated from some of our customers or even internally. So I will like to now move on to Niko, which is our guru of data, and now the guru of Azure Arc enabled data services. So Niko, the show is yours.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Data Services with Azure Arc. It's the second edition of the Cloud Activate event. We at Claranet are excited to bring you some exciting news. And before we start, just like a little disclaimer, this is something that we think is revolutionary. Just take it from here. This is the beginning of something, of a major shift in how we operate the data and how even the Microsoft operates their services. In part, of course, it's a pure speculation, but we see it as a major concept, a major shift in the way things are done. So my name is very Portuguese, Niko Neugebauer. I like to blog. I blog a lot about the data platform, analytics, and whatsoever. I work as a data professional at Claranet, where I help customers creating amazing things. Here are the questions that I would like to pose to everyone and anyone. Would you like to run the Azure Data Services? Would you like to run the Developer Edition and not being limited to, just one service, or one service with very serious limitation? When you are developing a solution for Postgres or for Azure SQL Server, would you like to have a development edition capability? Would you like to have it maybe even closer to your application and not being distributed in an uncontrollable way? Would you like to run your application across multiple data centers or even multiple clouds? Would you like to migrate to Azure because you are living in a hybrid world, or you are still on premises and you want to go to Azure? You want to prepare your application and maybe run it on premises with Azure services and then eventually migrate when you are ready. Would you like to run it on your data center, but without all the wonderful things of the Azure stack? Would you like to be compliant with RGPD or other governmental regulations, having complete control of your data? Well, Azure Arc enabled data services are here for you. So data services, right? What do you think about the data services when you talk about them? SQL, right? Maybe. So let's do a little jump and see the evolution of the Microsoft SQL Server platform. When I talk about it, what would you expect? Wow, here we go. Did anybody here ever saw this wonderful screen? This is the SQL Server 1.0 running on OS2, or as I used to call it, OS half, in 1989, a beautiful user interface, right? So that was like the initial version. This is where it started. Then in 1993, and the screenshot is a better version, so from 1992, but the RTM was 1993. It was a SQL Server on Windows. That was like a major step, a major evolution of the platform. Carrying on, we've got a huge shift with SQL platform on Azure. Azure SQL, we're talking about 2010. Notice, like for 17 years, and I'm not talking about the internal, the evolution of the product, but I'm talking about the platform evolution, because I've got a point here. And then 2017, Slava Ox and Tobias Sterns from Travis Wright, they had the wonderful idea, and they pushed the SQL Server onto Linux. Like, hell freezes over, right? You remember all those jokes on the 1st of April that SQL Server will be on Linux. Just think how difficult it is to port something onto a different operating system and make it run, and according to the public test, make it run faster than on Windows. And then in the same year, there was a first containerized SQL Server on Linux, on Docker. And then this is a beautiful screen, easy to explain. I have no clue if you ever heard about this, but this is something totally groundbreaking. It passed really misunderstood in great part, but it's called SQL Server Big Data Clusters. It allows you to process a big amount of data, or diverse amounts of data, so-called big data, in Spark nodes together, joined with SQL Server, as you can see here on the Spark, in the Kubernetes pod. This is a integral part of the SQL Server in 2019, and it was launched as an RTM project in 2019. So why are we talking about this? Just take a look at this picture. OS half, Windows, Azure, Linux containers, big data clusters. Like, take a look at the gap between the years. Okay, 4 years, maybe then 17 years. Okay, no major shifts in the platform. Then 7 years, and it starts like ping, ping, ping. There are fast releases with each one of them is pretty groundbreaking, pretty amazing. And in the old times, it would take probably 5 or 7 years to port the platform somewhere else. So, is there some kind of plan? So what about now, right? So where I am taking this, I'm taking this into the next step, because there is a plan. I claim that there is a plan, a multi-year plan that started when we saw Linux, because it's the same evolution of the platform. And as we will see today, it's all part of the evolution. The product that I want to talk to you is Azure Arc Enabled Data Services. Such a huge name. I think one day Microsoft will rebrand it into something more easy to say. But it takes start when Microsoft chooses to start implementing SQL Server on Linux. It should be launched publicly in 2021 in the first half of the calendar year. So until the 1st of July, but of course it's a public plan, it's not a commitment, right? So before we go into the Azure Arc enabled data services, I want all of us to be like on the same page regarding what is Azure Arc, because it's a confusing message in my books right now that Microsoft is delivering. So there are different services, there are diverse infrastructures, and there are different cloud environments. And we all have heard, and big companies are already starting to run their workload distributed between multiple clouds. So multi-clouds, in a way, starts to become a reality. Would you like to govern all of this in a single pane? Would you like to apply the same rules, the same security, the same, same rules against your infrastructure across any data centers, no matter where you are? Maybe you're running like a Raspberry Pi cluster somewhere on the edge. Well, there is Azure Arc for you. Azure Arc is a single control plane which installs into your VMs as an extension, and it will allow to bring the Azure services onto your environment. And you can do all the stuff. You can potentially update your operating system and so on by controlling it in one single location in Azure Arc. So with Azure Arc, you can operate different services no matter where you are, okay? There are two parts that are to be found under this big umbrella of Azure Arc. Azure Arc enabled infrastructure. You can run this selected, and there will be more and more services, and apply them onto your infrastructure, getting some compliance and so on and so forth. Or you can do what we are talking today about, is Azure Arc enabled services. Azure Arc enabled services, when you will run these services, right now just data services, just two of them, but that's just the beginning, anywhere. Any cloud, any data center, any environment, okay? So Azure Arc allows us to organize and govern across multiple environments. It allows us even to run the Kubernetes. It's one of the major offerings that Microsoft allows you right now. And right now, the idea is run your data services, Azure SQL managed instance, or Azure SQL Postgres hyperscale anywhere. And by anywhere, I mean really anywhere. You just need to comply with certain requirements. So without putting you much of the slideware, because I have so many slides, compliance, regulation, you want to move closer to your application, you have the legacy systems, you're tired of evolving and patching them. I mean, I bet that there is no single person who is responsible in one way or another for management of a complex part of the system who is like, oh, we are very happy with our patching strategy. It's hard, it fails, and you can have Azure Arc enabled services where some certain services right now, we're just in the beginning of this huge revolution, but they will be updated and managed by the Azure service. Or in the disconnected scenario, you will be downloading and executing the patching procedure by yourself, but you'll get just a package. That's the expectation, okay? So it's a huge, huge potential. Azure Arc enabled infrastructure, it allows you to manage, govern, and uniform your infrastructure, but Azure Arc enabled services. This is, you take the Azure services and you bring them down to where you are, okay? So right now, Microsoft has the Azure Arc enabled servers, but SUSE, Red Hat, AWS Linux 2, Ubuntu can, have monitoring and all other inventory services. You have the SQL Server where you have a virtual machine or hardware with SQL Server, where you can have some of the Azure services allowing you to run your SQL Server better. You have also the Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes, and you have Canonical, Ranger, OpenShift, all possible services to do that. So I'll skip a couple of slides because, it just, oh God, I went the other direction. Was I drunk? I want to talk to you about Azure Arc enabled data services. That's the goal today. And this is the groundbreaking service I really, really appreciate deeply. So what are these Azure Arc enabled data services are about? It's about two services, managed instance and Postgres Hyperscale. You can stay current with, currently the public policy is updating it every single month. And at the end of the month, there will be like an update. You can scale elastically according to your infrastructure. So if you have a factory, like put some Raspberry Pi Kubernetes cluster on it and scale it as much as you can, or as much as your managed partner allows you. And you have the unified management. You use the same set of tools to manage those services as you are on Azure. And the bottom line here is exactly this, the most important part. Any hardware, any Kubernetes. I know a couple of popular Kubernetes distributions that are not on the official list, but they're kind of popular, like any major already, but I can tell you they're all must be coming. It's like Microsoft is going hugely behind this. This is something like, I think it should be a great priority for Microsoft. So what is Azure Arc enabled data services architecture? From now on, we will start getting a little bit technical. So you run your AKS, GKE, Tanzu, or vanilla kubeadmin, kubeadm Kubernetes cluster. You will get a couple of pods behind the Azure Data Controller, which will allow to do the patching, the integration with Azure, the HAMDR, the provisioning, the backup, the scaling, blah, blah, all of this part that you can see here on the left side. Ignore the management, we'll dive it into in a couple of minutes later. We can have the Postgres SQL Hyperscale and SQL managed instance here. What are those? The collectd and fluentd. So collectd is a Unix daemon, which is basically collecting the system metrics. And fluentd is a log forwarder, which will forward this information. Why? I'll tell you one amazing thing, because when you start installing the data control, you start playing with this, when you start listing the endpoints, you will see everywhere logs and monitoring. You're like, what are those URLs are about? And you see like Kibana and Grafana, because you actually inside the controller, you have the Kibana and Grafana totally containers already with web service, so you can consume via any browser and monitor and doing alerting, whatever you want about those services, which is amazing. And of course, well, future data services, future analytics engines, and I would even argue that everything should be coming this way eventually. All right, so here is basically the endpoints. We have the HTTPS and Kubernetes API in order to control the data controller and control the cluster, and in part control the services, control how they are functioning. We have the controller, we have the metrics and logs, which is Kibana, Grafana and Kibana. We have the services which will be available through the regular TCP connection. So your application will have to just point to those services. It's pretty easy once it's running. okay? But it's still in preview. So the idea behind the Arc is that it will unify all the services, allowing you to, with pure Azure Arc, to uniform and govern your infrastructure. And with Azure Arc enabled data services, you'll get the Azure services down to wherever you are, like wherever, whichever cloud you have, as long as you have a Kubernetes on it, you can install it, okay? And it's amazing that, you know, when you see the list of all the offerings, all the Kubernetes systems that are already supported, it's fantastic for a preview, okay? We expect it to go in general availability in the first half, but, you know, we are all in a little confinement at home. It might change a little bit, but it's pretty fast development that Microsoft does. So, any questions so far? From now on, we will get more and more technical. Okay? No, I assume that there are no questions. So, here are the Kubernetes clusters that are already supported, and more are coming, okay? So AKS, Google Cloud, AWS, running OpenShift, Red Hat, Ranger. Amazing, amazing, really amazing. What you need to start playing with this thing, it's 140, I would say probably 118 would be even better. 4 vCPU cores, and at least 32 gigabyte of RAM with, I say 100. There is no documentation on the minimal space. You have to calculate it. I did the calculation, but I'll tell you, just put 100 gigabytes of storage just to be able to play, because if you exhaust the storage right now, the error messaging is, as you know, the error messages there are the last to be implemented partially, okay? So when you are installing on the node where you will be controlling the data node, you will need to have the kubectl, which is, you know, if you're running Kubernetes, you don't have a kubectl, you're not running Kubernetes, of course. You need to install the CLI. You need to install the Azure data CLI. This is essential in order to do provisioning of the service. It's not a really requirement, I will put it this way. If you want to run your own Python scripts on your own shell, you can do it. But Azure Data Studio is a little bit better, and it actually allows you to do, right now, not much, but, well, a couple of operations. And if you want to work with them on the better level within the Azure Data Studio, you can install extension for Azure Arc for PostgreSQL, okay? So let's talk about the connection modes. There are 3 connection modes. Right now, you can install the Azure Arc enabled services, and they will need to report on the metrics, on the consumption to Azure, right? And you have right now 2 out of the 3 scenarios available, but the 3rd one is coming. Either you choose the direct mode, which I am right now in preview phase. Since it's available in December and in the end of December, I prefer the direct mode, where I will put just the enterprise app registration with the necessary permission on Azure, and it will report the consumption auto magically. I don't have to worry unless there is a problem, which is wonderful. Or if you need like a better control, better governance, you can select the indirect mode, and then you will have to write some scripts that will export the metrics out of the Kubernetes cluster, maybe on some other node from which one you will be doing an upload monthly. And the 3rd one, which Microsoft promises, is the disconnected mode. It's think about the environments which are so critical, where nothing can be really touched, or there is no internet. I mean, you can be on a major ship and you want to run the data services there, and you have no internet connection. So there will be opportunity to have your cluster totally disconnected. There is no detailed information on how it will take place, but it's clearly like a significant market of those enterprises and maybe some secret services or banking industries they can choose. They will require to have this. Okay, so you will have to have also a number of URLs open. If you don't know, I mean, you will need to have the login, you will need to be able to do the management. These are the metrics. This is mostly for the direct mode. This is, you should know, the MCR is the container registry, Microsoft Container Registry. So when you are pulling a new container, you need to be able to connect, otherwise it won't work. It's obvious. And I already mentioned Kibana and Grafana. By the time you deploy your data controller, you already got them as containers. That's just like, for somebody who's looking on the management side, this is like, wow, that's amazing. Okay, so let's stop a little bit with the slideware. Okay, and let's move to a portal. Do you have any questions in the meantime? No? Feel free to unmute and ask the questions. No? Wonderful. All right, so I'm on the regular Azure portal and I want to install a data controller for my Arc. I already have one, which is running on our wonderful Claranet cloud, but I want to deploy another one. How difficult it is. I already have here a Kubernetes service with just 3 VMs, like really simple thing, but I just want to create a Azure Arc data controller. How does it work? I can actually go directly into Azure Studio and do the deployment there. But I want you to show how it works here. It's so easy. It's a little bit confusing, like blah, 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 all the requirements that I already told you. You know this, you don't have to worry. You click next. All you need to do is select the resource group, specify the controller name, select the location, choose the connection mode, indirect, as I told you, where you will have to put the processes that will report back to Azure, and you don't have to specify you don't have to do directly the app registration, the permission on the subscription, and all the wonderful stuff like the secrets within the Azure Active Directory, or you can do the direct mode. You do a little bit of preparation work right away, and then you don't have to worry about the reporting. And then boom, here we go. You can choose the profile, AKS with premium or default storage, OpenShift, Azure OpenShift, blah, 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 stack. More are coming. I will select like this, just for this example, right? And the next step is open in Azure Data Studio, because what it does actually right now, and I hope they will change it, it will run completely there. Some of these things like a little bit complicated. We need to download the notebook, and I already did it. Okay, so here we are. This is my notebook. This is the notebook you would download in a regular situation. And once you downloaded it, all you need to do is, it's just to run all cells. This is the Azure Data Studio. Latest version, latest and greatest. You go, you download it, you just run all. Starts, helper function, blah, blah, and then it starts looking at your Kubernetes installation. I already downloaded the configuration of my AKS Kubernetes cluster. I already configured it, so it's kind of like easy. I don't like to work with different contexts, so I'm like, I choose one, I'll go with it. And then it starts just doing some easy questions, like, how would you like to call your user? I would say, arcadmin, right? Which password would you like to have? I'm like, that's an easy part. I like easy passwords. That's one, the easy one. Let me just verify, yeah. Because once you do it, okay, You need to confirm it. All right, so choose a namespace. On the Kubernetes cluster, we need to define a namespace where all of the Arc controller will be installed. I will choose Arc. It's pretty default, but choose whatever you want. Just one requirement, it's gotta be free. No persistent volume claims, no persistent volumes, nothing. It should be a clean namespace, just creating you when you're starting to experiment, okay? So we need to choose a storage class. Basically, it's like how it will work on the storage level. Depending, and it's probably, it's like if you're running in the custom data center, somebody from the data center will have to tell you what you should be choosing. So I'll go with the managed premium, if you allow me, okay? And then it will start kicking off and creating. That's about it, okay? And how do we see the progress of it? I'll go here and I would say kubectl get all, and I will specify the namespace. And wow, I already got the bootstrapper. I told you it will be technical and it will get worse, I promise. So we get already the control DB starting to create. We already creating our stateful set. These are the cluster IPs, the network part, and according to like a couple of seconds, I can see a progress. It takes around 7 to 8 minutes on AKS. On my, I have 3 nodes with BM4, which is like slow VMs. It's a very slow cluster because I don't want to spend more money than I need to like playing with this thing. But it will create everything just on the run. And you will just need to wait for those minutes. And it already tells us like the data controller endpoint is right away available. If I will use my credential, I can already start connecting on it. But I'll tell you, I'll prefer like to waste a little bit of time and see that, oh wow, the control is already ready. So stateful set is here. This one is already running 2 out of 2, and it creates the control DB 0, right? So what would we like to see? We would see something like this. And we need to specify, let's see if my script foo is working. Okay, yeah, it started creating a container with a MS SQL server with a public preview from the December. That's beautiful. That's so it's like when you are working with Kubernetes, you will have to learn a couple of things. So it will keep on running for 6-7 minutes, and after that we will have all our controllers ready. All our containers will be ready, and we will be ready to advance. Oh, the management proxy is starting to rise up. That's beautiful. Any questions? It's like, this is one of the moments I thought like, I'll make a short stop and I'll catch the questions. Don't be shy. Raquel, do you have any question?
Not so far, thank you.
Pedro, Andre, no? It looks, everything looks clear, right?
Very clear.
Very
All
clear.
good, all
Nice
good.
black and green, but clear, yes.
All good.
Okay, black and green. Well, the color. Look, I have already a number of containers here running. You see all of this. I mean, if I would go and say something like, get me PVCs, persistent volume claims out, there will be some, you can see how easy it is to spend the space we do not have. It's kind of like, it's a serious setup. It's wonderful time. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to show you the ins of this, because I believe in the future it will be like click and forget, and you probably will have to have like a special permission in order to do it, because it will be like so easy. Well, it already like has 3 out of 9 resources ready. It takes just a couple of minutes more to get it running. Okay. I want to get all. Yes, I understand that for those of you who are like, who never seen the kubectl, this is like, in English, please. But we are getting like pretty far. I would say if we go back here, not ready. It takes like a couple of minutes. So we, at least for 4 minutes, we're already creating. What is missing here? It's management proxy. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, actually. It should be like finishing any moment. 6 out of 9 is reporting that we're almost there. And I need to check my other notebook in order to say, you know what, list me the end nodes, endpoints. Okay, of course I need to do the, okay, are they ready? It takes some time, it must be still provisioning. So it might look as a difficult task, but it's a one-time task. And actually, I am installing the data services right in front of your eyes. So this is very, very serious and very, very complex stuff. Okay, so 9 out of 9 services is ready. Data control is successfully deployed. After that, we're checking, it's the same command actually that I run. It will be checking on the services, and we can see the bootstrapper, the management proxy, the logs DB, the logs UI, and we can see the persistent volume claim. So it's success, and the last operation on the installation it does is AZ data login. So it does the login into the management portal. So I think this time when I list the endpoints, it should be a little bit better. Wow, fantastic, wonderful. So I have the management proxy. It's how I can use the API and manage it. If I open this little thing, this URL, I will get right away. Yes, because it just need to accept the risk. Arc admin, and I need my password, but it's, remember, you are deploying a very deeply complex architecture and the structure and the services, and in under 7 minutes, I'm already entering into Grafana. It's, you know, if you are not impressed, there is nothing else you can actually do in order to getting more impressed. We will get into the configuration, but you can see it's a telegraph, it's InfluxDB. There is a huge infrastructure already running here, okay? And the dashboards, we will get them once we just need to install an application in order to see it a little bit better, okay? So I have installed it, Grafana, Kibana, already mentioned them. I have those. Let's connect to our Azure Arc controller here right away. Okay, let's connect to it. That's the connection. I will call it AKS Arc. I will use my Arc admin name with the easy password I'm using, Arc admin, and I will even remember the password, and voila, hopefully it will work out and my demo won't fail and I will be able to connect. That's a suspense moment. It takes a lot of time for the first time for some reason. It looks a little bit slow. Maybe my internet connection is causing this. It should be like answering me right away. Did I do any mistake? No, I did not. Let me just retry it. For some reason, no, for some reason, I am I'm not able to get into my controller, but it's already there, and it should be already also on the Azure available. Sometimes it takes like up to 24 hours to get it reported. It might take some time. Okay, wow, that probably was internet. I hope you didn't spend too much time waiting. And here we go. From now on, I can start deploying the services, the Azure services onto my Arc. So I have here, basically, if I want to deploy a new instance, Azure SQL managed instance, I will just have to select it and go forward, accept the conditions, and go straight away and deploy. The same would be with the Postgres hyperscale. So pretty amazing stuff. Okay, you can always run this one if your cluster deployment is kind of like slow or whatsoever. If this one, if AZ Data Arc DC, which is a data controller status, will show you anything else as ready, you need to dive and, like, you know, as we say in Portugal, we scroll the log in order to find what is going on there. All right. So let me see if I have the controller already registered. Here we go. I got my controller here on the Azure. So Azure already 3 minutes ago started knowing that, well, Niko just installed a Azure Arc data controller and he's going to do something with it. And yes, I will. I definitely will. So that was good. Let's move on. Let's talk about the managed instance. All of you probably have worked or working with SQL Server. Maybe some of you are running Azure services and Azure SQL DB, maybe Elastic Pools, maybe even the managed instance, as some of our clients do. And, you know, would you like to have it on premises in bigger control? Because do you know what is the bigger problem with the managed instance on Azure right now? Is that the log writes. You cannot go in an easy situation beyond 48 megabytes per second, no matter how many cores you've got. If you want to run the managed instance and have all those wonderful advantages of it, but you want to have a better I/O, you can do it through the Data Arc. That's the solution, like right away, which is available. You just need to pay for them, right? You can follow this model to choose what are you going to deploy. So if you want Microsoft to manage and you want to place it directly into Azure, you need full control, you run the managed instance. You want a single DB, you run the Azure SQL database. Maybe, you know, you have hundreds or thousands of databases and you run the Elastic Pools. But if you want to put it outside of Azure, like, oh, we are preparing to migrate to Azure, but we are running, I don't know, Google Cloud or AWS, well, deploy a managed instance right near your applications on AWS Kubernetes Cluster, and you or your managed service partner will help you to manage it. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is the difference in the deployment model. If you care about the security, Microsoft is giving you all the options here, no matter when you run it. If you run on your own customer infrastructure, SQL Server or Postgres, you get the same features. But if you have like a scale up, scale down capability, well, you better, and you need to run a different than Azure infrastructure, you will need to choose a Azure Arc enabled databases. HRDR, so high availability disaster recovery, you get it from the Azure Arc. And I can tell you that you get it even if you don't use the high availability, which takes like, the biggest downtime we saw is around like 90 seconds for a database. Like, can you do a restart in under 90 seconds on your infrastructure, well, that's not bad. But if you go with availability groups, with just a click to deploy, that's like if you ever deploy the high availability disaster recovery solution, and I tell you that you do it like in 1.5 minutes and you're not impressed, and with one comment, I mean, there is something wrong here. You'll get auto upgrade, you'll get automatic patching, you will get the backup and restore, you'll get the wonderful monitoring. That's a huge advantage. You will be responsible for all the compliance certification, right? Or I mean, if you want the standard and whatever one of the greatest organizations on this planet does, you'll get the 90+ certification on Azure. But if you're running your own data center or different cloud, you'll be on your own and use their certifications. But you'll get, in this case, key things: data sovereignty and total control. It's like there is no risk of like Microsoft is selling our data. No, I mean, you can run in semi-connected or in the future disconnected mode, and you will have no chance of blaming Microsoft or anyone else besides yourself for the sovereignty and control. And with the current times of RGPD, it's kind of important. But yeah, the SLA and the management, this will be yours or your managed service partner task. So let's create a managed instance, shall we? Any questions so far? Please, don't be shy. I'm not biting most of the times, at least, according to my bosses. Hello? Nobody? Okay, so just unmute yourself and go on and pose the question if you have any. So let's deploy. And let's not deploy a Azure Arc controller, but let's deploy a SQL instance, right? We want to get like a real demo, not something like, Niko is talking about some stuff, but there are like kubectl. We want the SQL part. So I'll do the steps just to show you. Like I need to give it a name. I'll say demo1, 01. I'll give a username for it. I need to pick my other good password. I have like 2 passwords that I apply everywhere. Well, now I will have to do 3. I'll go with managed premium because I like things to function, and I can specify the number of the cores, the memory limits, the memory requests that it can get, and so I'll leave it by the default. I can either deploy it directly or I can script it into Notebook. I'll do the script into Notebook because I kind of like the notebooks. I like Jupyter notebooks, and what Microsoft did with Azure Studio is also pretty fine. So, okay, what I need here is to execute the command. So it will do like some writing, it will define the variables, and then in the end, it will do AZ data arc SQL MI, create, and then you will specify all those parameters that you created. So I will simply run it all. I'll try it. I don't know if the demo will work. Well, it should be running. Well, it's executing AZ data arc SQL MI create demo01. So how do we check on it? kubectl is our best friend, of course. Get pods in the namespace of Arc. Woohoo! Demo01 is creating 0 out of 3 containers I hear. So I'll do something like this, like to keep me updating, and it will do the refreshing. And in a typical deploy, it's around 75 seconds. In 75 seconds, I will create a managed instance on any Kubernetes. That's impressive. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's if you have never seen a deploy of SQL Server And sometimes it's like you need an hour on Windows. And with all the respect of wonderful job that Windows team is doing, is the containers on Linux are a little bit faster. And doing this on Kubernetes on multiple nodes in parallel, that's like 75 seconds is not bad. Okay, so how are we doing? Well, we see already 76 seconds in, it's already running 2 out of 3 nodes. So it should be like around ready. Yeah, it's ready. We go here. What it says, it's still running efficiently. Let's refresh and see if something is going on. Wow, I've got my instance already. It finalizes something. So I don't care. I'll just go and I'll click on manage of my instance. It will ask me for my credentials. And I say, of course I am authorized to do this because I'm doing a demo. And here we are. And wow, master, model, MSDB, tempDB, you know, all these 4 wonderful bases for any SQL-based instance. I have the connections. I have the control of, you know, the same parameters we saw in the creation. I can control that. That's just, it's very few options right now in the data studio, but more are definitely coming. So if I switch back into my Firefox, I can tell you, if I go into SQL managed instances, Azure Arc, just be aware that you do not select managed instances, just the managed instances. You need to select managed instances Azure Arc. I hope one day they will converge. In 24 hours at max, it will appear here as an asset. And it will be similar to a, so this is something we're running for like over a month on the Clara Cloud, on our infrastructure for our tests. So you will get it here, wherever you are, whichever cloud, whichever Kubernetes you are, okay? So I'll do what I want to do, which is, let's connect to it. I want to show you the real stuff, right? So we'll select this and we go here. And here is nothing else, hopefully. I'll need to reconnect to it. Just give me a second because I connected it on the wrong screen. You will enjoy a beautiful island. If you have any questions about the island, that's a sales department in Claranet. Who is responsible for the islands. We have a really clear separation duties here. So my connection string, right? My IP with the port number, and I need my password. And Pimba Zé Carlos, as we say in Portugal. This is a managed instance running on data controlling on Kubernetes. It doesn't really matter where it is. It's already there. I mean, sometimes if you have like network security groups, some network parameters, some connection permission set that will not allow you to function in a different way, not to allow you to connect, you will need to set them. But for the demo, I'm just, you know, I'm pretending I don't need them. But I will create my first database here, test database. Here we go. And the wonderful thing is here, oh God, I did a mistake. I need to connect here because yes, it's an old, it's the last demos I run today in the morning, just preparing. And if because Management Studio will not provide you, I want to select everything from, don't worry, I will make it a little bit bigger. I will zoom it out. If I will use these databases, I just want to show you, for any of you who are professionals with playing with SQL Server, do you know what this means? 160. 160 is corresponding the compatibility level of SQL Server that doesn't exist. If you're running the latest and greatest, 2019, you can get only 150. If you see 160, that either it's Azure SQL database or Azure SQL managed instance, or it does not exist, or you're running VNX, you're in the preview program, right? So that's absolutely amazing. You can have it right now, the managed instance, which has some of the upcoming feature already available. You can already see, and maybe your app needs to be sure that you're compatible. You can get it. You can run a development license for free. I mean, you pay for the infrastructure and for the management, right? But that's a great news. What are not so great news is, do you see this one? Why don't I have a SQL Server agent? Anybody knows? Can I start it? I cannot. Wow, why? Any idea? Come on, people, don't fall asleep. Please. All right, I'll tell you the secret. The secret is, it's SQL Server on Linux. Remember some of the first slides? It's SQL Server on Linux in the container in a Kubernetes, right? And SQL Server on Linux has just one little property we need to configure in MS SQL Conf. There is a nice utility which allows us to configure. We need to configure this configuration file in order to have it. I am absolutely asking and insisting with Microsoft that by the default deployment, it should be running, because I need to do something a little bit technical, and I'm kind of like not sorry about this. Okay, so let's get back here. I will explain to you. So here, what we need to do. We need to create the MS SQL custom configuration. You can use the regular MS SQL Conf utility, which is pre-installed. You need then to get the name of the pod we are running. You'll get then the name of the container extracting, and then you copy with kubectl cp, you copy your configuration file inside our pod, inside our container. And then after restarting the our container, we will get what we want. So allow me to show you my configuration that I already did. Okay, that's not it. MS SQL custom conf. Yes, of course, it jumped on a different screen because, as you know, some people are chaotic like me. So this is my custom MS SQL conf. So I just specify here in this file that SQL agent is enabled. I want to use the default database mail profile. The error log will be in varopt MS SQL log folder. The error level is 7. I am arguing with Microsoft that all the trace flags, and they run on Azure SQL managed instance, should be by default pre-initialized within the data controller. On the locations, I'm all for the data, for the log, for the dumps, for the memory dumps. I hope you have none of them ever. And I'm already preparing myself for the high availability. I'm forcing the setting of the always on. You click and then you need to restart your SQL Server when you're installing availability groups. That's this setting. Okay, so I explained to you the operations. Maybe I should show you how to do this. All right. So let's see our pods here. Our pods, I have a demo 010. That's the pod, that's a container I am running. And I want to get this one in order to get the name of the real container behind it. And my container is this one, is Arc SQL MI. I need to know this name in order to execute the next operation. I am copying my MS SQL custom conf into var opt MS SQL custom configuration file in my Arc SQL MI into demo 010 pod. Okay, so I did not do this. Yes, I did. Okay, so it's copying, and the next step, it takes like a couple of seconds. Of course, I am entering my container with this command, and I am restarting the SQL Server. So it takes like 20, 30, 40 seconds, whatever. I am restarting it, and you will see the effect of this right away. This is one of these like small little breaks where you can shoot the questions to me, please. It's technical presentation, but you can ask anything related to data controller. Don't be shy. Any doubts, anything you want to see. All right. When the presenter gets no questions, it's one of the two things. Either everything is clear or nothing, and it's all a gibberish. But I hope it's not the last option. So, okay, MS SQL Server started, right? Wonderful. We get back into our connection, and I will need just to refresh it. Woohoo! Our agent is here. I argue Microsoft should do it by default, but I'm ready for ourselves internally and for our customers to have this totally automated as a part of the deploy or instance creation script to do this job. And just to point you out that the trace flags are working, I will just do the dbcc trace status, and you will see that I am running 1499, 3226, which is a backup. Don't write into the error log, or this one, which is helping with some of the memory stuff, helps with the performance. So these are the things I have installed and configured. If you never run the SQL Server on Linux, I understand that it looks crazy, but it's not. It's a good way. It's a good way, and that's how the cookie crumbles. Okay. All right. So how do I do backup and restore there? Like, well, pretty easy. Like, I'll show you a demo. I think that's why you're here. You want to see the demos. You're tired of just talk, right? So let's do the following. Let's issue a following command. I will check what is inside var opt MS SQL data folder, and I'll do it in a list way. Okay. All right. Maybe I should increase the font a little bit. Where is it? Edit. No. Any settings? Any questions? Any settings? No? Okay, so, all right. So we ignore right now the entropy bin. We see the MDF and the LDF files, master log, databases, tempdb. I mean, I'm not even pointing to these ones, and I'm not even speculating. There are things I'm afraid to speculate, but I'll just point this, whatever. It's just interesting that there are this strange model MSDB, model replicated master. What does it mean? I wouldn't know. I know nothing. So what I will do is simply, I will put here into this folder. I'm listing not inside my VM, I'm listing inside the container, right? So I'll do, and I will download with wget the AdventureWorks 2009 backup, okay? So, and I save it in the same folder. So if I will rerun the command, I should be able to see, here we go. I downloaded into my container a backup, right? Wonderful. So I will simply execute the command for restoring it. It's nothing else than the SQL CMD, which is command line utility, Mac, Linux, whatever. Microsoft has made it a couple of years, long ago, cross-platform. User Arc admin, my easy password, and I just run the restore command. Takes like under 1 minute. And if I'm not mistaken, and go in here, if I list the databases, wow, I already see AdventureWorks 2009 restoring, like all the usual stuff. Usual in a way that, I mean, I can go here and restore database and go into the device and pick the folder where it is, where my backup is. This would work the same way, right? But I'm just showing you that with the kube control and remote execution within our node, we still are able to run. Here is a command. So I'm doing the SQL CMD and running my command, moving the data and the log, or renaming them, doing all the usual stuff. It all works. It's all fine. It's a managed instance here. And yeah, if I will list the inner parts, I can already see the MDF, the data file, and the log file, the LDF, are there in the folder. I'm sorry, I'll just list it like this, so it's a little bit better visible. Here they are. So it's wonderful. It works. Okay. But once again, you will be able to do it in the same way you did before. And if you are using Azure very extensively like us, you can simply take it out of the blob storage. You can do backup, not on your infrastructure, but you can use the backup to URL, the regular backup mechanism, in order to export your data. Of course, I assume you're using transport data encryption, you know, make your backup safe and you protect all the stuff from accessing this storage from any other services. Different topic, maybe one day we'll talk about this. But you've seen it's a no-brainer. It's a pretty no-brainer. Okay, let's go back. What should we do else? We'll do a scaling. How does it work? So scaling works pretty easy. Scaling is, we can list the current configuration. We'll do it right away. We can edit it, and then we specify something, okay, in order to be able to see the effects of it. And right now, I need to do something. I want to switch from this cluster and from this data controller into Clara Cloud, Kubernetes and data controller that we have on our installation, and show you something. Okay, for that, I will need to do something. I need to copy my configuration, a different configuration file for kubeconfig. Okay. Okay, and I will just confirm that it's the cluster I want to work with. It's 80. The IP, let's see, because I have a beautiful demo. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. In the meantime, of course, just want to make sure our managed instance worked pretty well. Okay. So I have here something very, very easy, a little thing. So I have here a couple of databases, but I want to create a new one. I just want to show you the workload. I will create a new 1G database, and I will create a TPCH. It's right now, for whatever reasons, it's not called TPCH. It's not a standard data warehousing performance test database. It's TP-ROC H, but the functionality is the same. Using 64 users from this virtual machine, I will connect into managed instance on the Clara Cloud, and I will hammer it. That's why this tool is called HammerDB, very popular between the database people. But before that, let's do something and see the current configuration. The current configuration is I'm using the 4 vCores with 8 GB of RAM, which is a little bit too much. I want to start like a little bit smaller, okay? So I will reconfigure it back I'm glad that I checked. It takes a couple of seconds, maybe like a minute to reconfigure, but still pretty wonderful in my books. And after that, I will be able to start working with it. But I want to show you something else in the meantime. I want to connect to my controller and I want to show you the configuration. Because all we want is, and let me see if it's running. So actually, you see this? This is my managed instance. I will not extract, just in order to not spend too much time. Would I like to know how my host is doing? How my CPU is doing? This is me running on the same IP. I'm running a wonderful Grafana, which allows me to monitor whatever I want to monitor. It's all here. And I go, and if I would already deploy a Postgres, I could monitor the Postgres. But here I have number of transactions per second, batch requests per second, wait statistics, memory broker clerks, activity, buffer cache, memory manager. We have even always on here part, right? So if we are using a high availability, we would see the delay it's causing our transaction on the replication. It's all out of the box when we install the data controller. That's just by itself is amazing. Okay, so it reported me AZ SQL, it's how I call the instance, is ready. That's wonderful. Shall we execute it? What would you say? Okay. Would I like to create 1G? I think I do. It should be failing. Oh, okay. I said it should be failing and it started failing. Okay. So I already ran the workload, right? Can you see this? Take a look here. I'm running here 200. I'm running 700 transactions per second. Brokers will start dealing and risk in a different way. I'm absolutely ready. I can see like, oh, we're doing the page lookups and we do the index searches. I'm creating a database, so it's kind of. I have probably the problem with the compilation. I have a lot of compilation. I log flashes per second as well. So I can go into my SQL server and start tune it. And how much time would you take to install a monitoring solution that will give you the same kind of clarity? I mean, this is mind-blowing. This is absolutely fantastic in my books. So I'm doing around like, well, what is it? 750, 20 transactions per second, right? And I say, well, that I'm creating, I'm just running a test. I don't want to create this 1 gigabyte. I want to do a test on 1 terabyte TPCH because we need to, our data warehouse is big. We need to do a serious test. So, okay, well, I won't spend too much time. I'll go and I'll say, you know what? That's fine. I'll give not these amounts of memory. And for this demo, trust me, there is no real difference memory makes, but it's the cores. I'll go for 4 cores. It will take a minute. It will cause a downtime right now because we do not have the high availability yet. I will scale it up. It will give an error here, of course, failing because we are in the infrastructure. It will start showing me like status wrong, killed. That's fine. I will restart it simply with G 1E, right? No, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, it's hyper, okay? And I will not start build until I make sure that my upgrade for my instance is ready. But think about this, you, in a matter of seconds, I think it's like, once again, somewhere for the infrastructure we're using, like in 1.5 minutes with a simple command, or I could have done the same command here right away, right? So I could execute this the same command here, and in the future, I believe in the portal as well. You will need to have the connected mode, of course, right, for this, because if you're disconnected, you can't do this from the portal. But I would be able to resize my infrastructure. And do you see me caring about how it runs down, how it affects anything? I don't care. I just execute the commands. And the beautiful thing is right now we can see how easy it is on the infrastructure level, because then we will have just buttons, click, click, click. It will be easy to do. Right now we understand like because it's not final product, we can see, well, you see, you saw it by yourself, it's under 1 minute, okay? So it's kind of like beautiful, I'm ready, let's go back, and I say, let's run it again. Ready? Yes, I am. I want to reset the users, virtual users. So I want to terminate the existing and recreate them again. Let's see if I manage to do it correctly. Sometimes I don't. Maybe this time, this is exactly what happened. Let's see. Did it create anything? Yeah, 1G is there. Where are the users? It doesn't show us the users for some reasons. Maybe it's still kind of, no, but it's all fine. Oh yeah, because I have the 1G, right? And nobody told me that. That's fine. So I need to click this one, and should it fail because 1G already exists? No. Okay. Okay, so 1H. Oh, okay, I was right. Let's build. Ready to create. Yes, I am. Okay, go. So it started doing again. Remember how many transactions we had? We had like 750 transactions. It will do a little bit better, I guess. Time it's still like another. It will do a better result in my hopes. I hope at least. But if I would have a time, I would like 1 to 4 cores. You can scale it significantly better. Oh, okay. So we're doing something like 8, and we will start. Okay, so we're doing 1.3K, 1.3 transactions per second, and 1,500 batch requests per second. Not bad for very, insignificant resources that we. I don't want to over waste your time, and you're all extremely intelligent people. You understand the more we would throw, we could do the tuning, we could get different results. Nothing I can do right now or later that can impress you. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to scale. So I just scaled it, whole infrastructure in a matter of minutes, really minutes. This is with all the trash talk and not being to do the correctly start of the demo. You saw it's 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes to scale the infrastructure. It's amazing. For somebody who deals with infrastructure, this is inspiring, really. Okay, so high availability. It's not available yet. It's highly available, but it's not. It's coming. So 3 days ago, Travis Wright, he publicly announced that it's coming in the next couple of months. given that GA should be like, or at least the expected GA within the next 5-6 months, I would say it really should be a couple of months. It's just a parameter. You specify the business critical tier and the number of replicas, and you get a availability group totally configured with the number of replicas that you wish. I mean, if you ever configure it on Azure, you need to do the load balancer stuff. You need to put the probe. It's pretty easy for those who did it. If they don't make a mistake, if they will not mix support, if they will execute the PowerShell. But this one, I will create a managed instance, and I say here parameter equals to business critical, and replicas, I don't know, 9 replicas. That's it. I mean, just if this is not amazing, there is nothing that can be amazing for you, in my opinion. And that's availability group on Linux, in containers, on Kubernetes. And if you're a data professional, this phrase should ring you so many bells that should be ringing. So wonderful. It's one of the very few products that really excites me as a data professional, because I can have my data, and hopefully more in the future, very, very easily, wherever I want it, wherever I need it. I won't spend the time on Postgres because I want to come to a kind of a conclusion here, but it's the same line. It's the same comments. You get the PG admin and you work with your favorite tool, your favorite application. It's a CTUS, it's the old name, but Postgres SQL hyperscale on wherever you want them, right? This is also amazing. And you get, of course, multiple replicas already there right away. So I want to talk to you about the future vision. And disclaimer, it's Niko's idea. My company has nothing to do with this. They're very supportive, but I'm speculating. I have no such information. It's a pure speculation. Take it from here as just a thought. So what's next? Cosmos DB, Redis, MySQL, MariaDB, streaming analytics, machine learning, maybe Power BI, because essentially, however they run in Azure, if they're good services, and they should be containerized. They're probably running on the service fabric inside the Azure. And if you convert those containers to be compatible with Kubernetes, you can export them, right? And so you would be able one day, I don't know, but hopefully to get those data services on premises. Maybe you will have Azure Machine Learning with Power BI distributed if you're a huge company and you're distributed between AWS, you're running their Azure Machine Learning, and on the Google Cloud, you run with the help of the data controller and Azure Arc enabled data services Power BI. You see the picture? You can bring the service you want as close to the services that you need. And that's a miracle. That's really a miracle. Second speculation. What if Microsoft would go and start connecting? You run the Azure SQL managed instance on Azure as a PaaS, and there is a connection. They will be connected, and maybe you will go as far as doing a stretch. You remember those stretch databases where one of the parts would run on Azure service? What if you stretch the database and say, you know what? I want to distribute it in this region. This works like this. On this cloud, it works like that. This data is there. Maybe you can sync the data. Maybe you can migrate between them. Maybe you have a true hybrid story between those. Maybe you can build something bigger. Maybe you can build a multi-master rights because you're already doing a Kubernetes. I mean, I don't know. It would be nice to know, but it's just think about the possibility. It's a start. Take it as a start, but I say it's a start of something big. So the reasonable question is, why stopping at the data? Why not putting Sentinel, eventually Active Directory, or maybe cognitive services? I am speculating that it should be possible because they're all obliged to the containerized principles within the Azure to port them one day. And according to the success of the initial services, this one day might be closer or further away. And who knows? This is the, the architecture. We have the hardware, we have the hardware manager, we have the fabric controller, we have the service fabric, and maybe we could imagine something like, I'm not saying that just because Brendan Burns, a technical fellow, one of the co-founders of the Kubernetes, works at Microsoft on container stuff that, I don't know. How would I know? I'm nobody. But if they would think that you would be able to run anywhere in the world with Kubernetes, any services, but if Microsoft would tune them with AKS, with Azure Kubernetes Service, to run them in a different way, a more performant way, like they always tune it and do, you say, like, I run it anywhere, but if I want it to run even faster, I need to go to Azure, because I would go like as natively close to the hardware as possible. Like, just a thought. And that's it. I have nothing else to say. Besides that, I want to thank the company I work for, Claranet, for the opportunity to present this idea, vision, and this tool to you. And I'm ready for the questions, if you have any.
Go ahead, guys. Don't be shy.
Well, everything clear. I don't believe that, like, there is nothing that you like. There are no questions. Did you like it? Did you not like it? It's fine that you disagree with the vision. I most of the time I do disagree with myself. Vasco, he disagrees with me more time than he can imagine. You just don't know.
What I wanted to share is for us, like, and reinforce a little bit the message that Niko was passing, is that we do see this as a big opportunity that is going to enable us Claranet, to increase our portfolio and provide more solutions to our customers, and help them move to a even more hybrid world. Because I don't think, and maybe some of you may disagree, maybe others can agree, but I don't think that private cloud is the answer for everything. Public cloud is the answer for everything. Each customer business has its own requirements, special needs, and this is a step further to help close the gap and provide solutions to our customers. So I do see this as a great benefit, to be able to bring some of the services that Azure is providing closer to our customers. It could be in our data center, it could be on premises. And when we are talking about, for instance, industry, this is absolutely critical, because sometimes you need to run the workloads in the floor shop, right, closer to the infrastructure that is providing or manufacturing whatever that customer is manufacturing. So I see this with a lot of interest. And what amazes me more is that this service it's you are not obliged to buy a specific appliance or hardware. This can run on top of your existing hardware, so no big special requirements around this. We can easily deploy a Kubernetes cluster within your own infrastructure that you already have, and enable Azure data services on top of it. So I do think this is a great plus, and will be followed. This is has been launched it has less than 1 year, so it's a very young product, but we are looking at it every day. We are involved and talking with Microsoft and doing several POCs around Azure Arc. Data is just one of the POCs. We are also working with in different streams. So we'll be able to share more information with you in the next Cloud Activates or in separate events dedicated to Azure Arc. So if you have any questions around this and share your thoughts, this is the moment. So go ahead.
That's good. Everybody agrees. So I just want to put some like kind of deeps on this. And I'll tell you a story. The first time I saw this, I couldn't talk about this. I could not talk because I was not allowed. It was shown under NDA. And I was like, well, that's cool, but let's see how it will grow. But I remember the moment now when I saw the potential, when I saw a little bit of the documentation, when I saw the internals, when I saw how it evolves, I remember now the day I saw it as like the moment. It's not a moment, but the moment. And please, when you are seeing this live, and you will see maybe one day this in the recording, remember that at Cloud Activate, we showed you something that is as groundbreaking as it is. Give it some time. Give it to those pioneers who will be running it, and I bet that in 3 to 5 years, people are like, yeah, Azure Arc enabled data services. Of course we know this. Of course we're using this because it's like it allows us to do the multi-cloud strategy. We can run this on factory. We can run it in a disconnected world. It is a special product, absolutely special.
Yeah, and it all starts with data, but then is going to probably evolve to Kubernetes, and I don't think it's going to stop there. It's going to evolve to other services that Microsoft is providing already. But we cannot discuss that because, as you know, you mentioned that we are under NDA, so we cannot share some of the information that we have. But the going forward, we are very optimistic around this. So guys, if you don't have any questions, I think we can close the session today. So thank you a lot for your time today. And Niko, special thanks to you for preparing this session. I know that it was a lot of hard work, but in the end of the day, it was worth it. So special thanks to you, and also to our team that supported this event, Raquel, Carla, and the other guys around the organization of this event. Thank you so much for it, and we'll see you in the next Cloud Activate. Bye-bye.